Welcome to Arcane Brewcast. I'm Jamie, your Arcane Brewer.
And I'm Jake, your Arcane Engineer. What are we doing today, Jamie?
Today we're going to be brewing with Conversation Hearts. We have right here a 5-pound bag of Very Berry Brock's Conversation Hearts, which we'll talk a little bit about and try some in a minute. As always, thank you to Mom Rock for use of their song Conversation. Really great song. Really appreciate it. Since this is the first episode, thank you for the community reference. Since this is the first episode, this is a show where we brew something and then talk about it. So that's like what we're doing here today. We were going to brew something and then we're going to talk about it.
Brew and talk.
So this is not a candy show. Well, it might sometimes be a candy show, but this isn't. Welcome to Arcane the Brewcast. We brew something here. So today, we got these Very Berry Conversation Hearts, which is not, it's not standard. Brock's did not invent Conversation Hearts. We'll talk about who invented Conversation Hearts.
Quite the history.
Quite the history. But these might not be the brands you grew up with, or maybe they are, but I've never had Very Berry before.
Yes, please pour me a bowl of Conversation Hearts.
Yes.
I haven't had breakfast.
Get some milk, top it the rest of the way off. So yeah, not the usual flavors. You can see it's red, sort of a light blue, purple, and
I think there might be
is there
two
multiple
shades
pinks?
of pinks.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's subtle. It's like a sort of like a salmon pink and like a, I don't know, breast cancer ribbon
light.
pink.
You can kind of see the difference in my hand on camera.
Yeah.
We'll get a close-up shot later.
Yeah, absolutely. So the flavors here, supposedly, and I do not have a key for these, so I don't know which subtle flavors or which subtle colors. But we got strawberry here. We got raspberry. We got blackberry. We got blueberry. And we got berry punch. And that's Maisie.
I can only distinguish 4.
Yeah, at best, so, like, this is definitely the lighter pink.
The purple's gotta be the blackberry.
This is the darker pink. Purple's gotta be blackberry. Is blue berry punch, maybe? Because it's like blue raspberry, maybe. That's the...
Maybe.
Alright, well...
Let's
see.
Find out, yeah.
Tastes like sugar. Could that be blueberry? Because there's a blueberry. I think that is blueberry.
I'm having this light pink one. I think it's strawberry.
Okay, that kind of feels right.
But it's really hard to say. This tastes like very sweet chalk.
Yeah. It is much like very sweet chalk. But they're not chalk, actually. Chalk is made from chalk. But these, and we'll talk more about it later, are made from sucrose, dextrose, fructose, gelatin, and artificial flavors. Artificial colors. Yeah, I think that is strawberry.
Light blue could be, what were our options? Berry punch?
I think it's blueberry is the thing.
Blueberry?
Because blueberry is one of them. So, yeah, but then there's berry punch, blackberry, and raspberry. We haven't ID'd yet. Although it might be like this red one. Like, are these different?
They might be.
This is definitely... Okay. Hypothetically, let's say this is our spectrum of colors. Strawberry. But what's raspberry and what's berry punch?
They do have distinct flavors, which I wasn't expecting. It's all behind a very overpowering sugar chalk flavor and texture, but it's there.
I don't know what that was. I should be taking from the bowl so I don't eat my key. Fuck, I don't know if those are different. Yeah. Let's see what, so Kiss Me, XOXO, fairly standard. Real Love. Totes, very cute. TTYL.
LYNY.
LYNY.
Love You, Need You?
Yeah.
Is that
I guess.
is that a thing people say?
Liney. I've never. I don't know. I don't know of Love You Need You. Goat. Which. I don't feel like that's something you say about your romance partner.
Yeah, that should be on some football candy.
That's a football thing, right?
It's a sports thing. It should be,
or at least like a ranking things thing.
Oh, Zozo.
What's Zozo?
XOXO.
Oh yeah, Zozo. That's one of his ones. Has anyone made a Conversation Hearts branded Ouija board?
Ooh.
Be mine.
The planchette, is that what it's called? The planchette could be heart-shaped.
The planchette kind of already is heart-shaped, actually.
That's a good point.
So yeah, it could still be a heart. Just put like a little thing you read through it.
Oh, Gal Pal.
Gal Pals. Oh, I just got Gal Pal.
Hey.
Gal Pals.
Lady friends.
Lady friends. Berry punch.
Sweet.
So, we're going to be fermenting these hearts, but I don't want to do 5 different fermentations. So I was kind of thinking maybe we split it into 2 or more than that. I don't know. We'll see. But like, what we're trying to figure out right now is like, which of these flavors, first of all, what are these flavors? And second of all, which ones will go well with each other?
I hate to say it, but I'm not sure they're going to be distinguishable once they've been fermented.
I don't think they will be.
So I think we should separate them by sentiment.
By sentiment? Okay. That probably also won't be distinguishable, but I like the hustle
Bay.
there. Bay?
Good bay.
Oh,
Maybe
bay.
ones that are like imperatives, like call me, text me.
Yeah. That's like, that's a forceful conversation. Call me. Be mine.
Yeah. We got love. That's just...
Miss you. That's
concept.
needy, so it feels like it's kind of the same, that's the same lover.
Only you.
Only you. Yeah. Controlling. The controlling hearts.
TTY. Maybe the toxic ones?
Yeah, kind of toxic hearts. Do we want to ferment toxic hearts? Like, is that going to be good for our mead? Or Sugarwine? Actually, this isn't going to be a mead, because honey's expensive, and why would we combine honey with all these? We're just going to be making a Sugarwine.
I do think it would be interesting to find out if the toxicity in human relationships can also be toxic to yeast. And I
All right.
think we'll have to see how they ferment.
All right. So, we're definitely doing a fermentation of the toxic hearts. I want to do at least like 2 other like side batches. And I'm trying to narrow down the theme. We've got like a lot of these like text me, hug me, love you, kind of forward but playful, you know? So I'm thinking like those are like the flirty hearts.
Yeah, one you would send to your sweetheart.
Yeah, to your sweetheart, as the brand implies. And then we've got like nice. We've got peace.
Peace, yep, that's great.
Yeah, that's pretty chill. And
That's just a great sentiment.
love by itself, which, man, I was kind of assuming some sort of dichotomy between like flirty hearts and just friendly hearts. But like what I'm seeing emerge is more kind of like wholesome hearts. If that, I don't know if that ferments as anything.
Yeah,
it's
wholesome.
There kind of has to be like kind of like a catch-all.
Platonic nature.
Hearts, sincere hearts, isn't bad. I don't know. These categories are not really going to cover. There's a lot of like lulls and TTYLs, and like the tone of that so ambiguous. But I mean, I'm not just going to eat all of the ambiguous hearts. That's a lot of hearts to eat. We're fermenting all this shit.
So. Yeah, we gotta use all these.
So, sincere hearts and flirty hearts?
Yes, plus the toxic hearts.
Plus toxic hearts. All right. Well, we've got our water heating up. not a lot to do until that's ready. How about we head back, start actually sorting all these guys, and then brew this thing.
Bingo bongo.
Bingo bongo.
Might cut that part.
Aside the
I think that's a call me.
Call me.
Depending how the tone in that, if you get a message that says call me, or a text that says call me,
I'm going to go further.
That's not
I'm going to
great.
say call me, be mine, miss you. All of these are controlling. All of these are kind of like, they're, you know.
Now, I got a nice here.
Nice?
Nice is nice.
Nice.
But sometimes nice is nice, and it's like,
You think it,
a
is
little
it flirty
skeevy.
or skeevy?
I don't know.
I feel like it's a lot to assume the intonation, you know, like...
Let's assume the best. Let's assume nice is nice.
And that's another... Should that be the sincere jar? Should this be the flirty jar?
Yeah. Toxic, sincere, flirty.
Kiss me is pretty flirty. Totes.
Laugh, again, just an emotion.
Yeah.
Or an action. A reaction.
Laugh.
Sweet.
I demand you laugh. Real love. Coming on a little strong.
Yeah, regular love, though, goes in the middle.
You know
DM me. That's...
Love you. I've been putting a lot of abbreviations in flirty, but I think love you need you. If indeed that is what LYNY is gonna have to go.
It's toxic.
Yeah.
That's too much. Too hard. Too fast.
Yeah, that's love bombing. That's love bombing.
Yeah, if you're still in the stage of your relationship where you're exchanging conversation hearts, love you, need you is too much.
So we're gonna do a little bit more sorting. But while we sort, we're gonna talk a little bit about sugar on its most fundamental level, which means saccharides. And I am going to preface this by stressing that I'm not a professional chemist, and this is a layman's understanding of sugar, not a deep dive, but a layman's understanding is probably more what you're looking for. So, yeah, I suppose I'm going to try to actually pay attention to these. Sweet. I'm just reminding you, we have our sincere hearts, the flirty hearts, and to the toxic hearts. And these are as much open to interpretation as anything. Okay. Nice. Where did we land on nice?
Nice is nice. It's sincere.
Nice. So, saccharides are molecules built from H2O and a varying amount of carbon atoms. There are a few different fundamental types, and then everything else, all the others, are built from those. So, all carbohydrates are built out of saccharides. Carbohydrates are sugar. Everything we're talking about here is just going to be increasingly complex chains of sugar. So, those categories that they're in are based off of how complex these chains are. So we've got monosaccharides, disaccharides, polysaccharides, and oligosaccharides, which I'm not actually clear on how those are distinct from polysaccharides, so we're not going to focus on it. And it's kind of hard to say, oligosaccharides. These are big words, but they're exactly what they sound like. Saccharide means sugar, saccharin. And monosaccharides are the simplest sugars, the building blocks of everything else. Mono, one, saccharide, sugar. One sugar. Disaccharides are made from two monosaccharides. Di, two, saccharide, sugar. Polysaccharides are made from a lot of sugars, and so on.
Is more saccharides better?
No, not necessarily. In fact, yeast have an easier time when they can engage with like a relatively simple sugar. In particular, sucrose, one of the most common disaccharides, is commonly broken down into two monosaccharides, glucose and fructose. Maybe I should just introduce all the monosaccharides, then we'll know what we're working with here.
Yeah, monosaccharides.
Monosaccharides first. Mono, one. The most common monosaccharide is glucose, which derives from the Greek words for wine, which is glucose, Gleukos, although I guess that's English letters. Anyway,
Os is, as a result of that, used as a suffix for different sugars. But I think that just comes from glucose. I think, like, that's the derivation of the suffix. Correct me if I'm wrong. Probably am.
Not an etymologist.
Not an etymologist. So the word for wine was used because glucose was first chemically isolated from raisins. So wine sugar. But it's in every plant in existence and also every animal. When we're talking about glucose, we're referring to D-glucose, which is also known as dextrose. Dextrose comes from the Greek words for right, dexter. And to explain why the Greek word for right is relevant, I'd have to go deeper into chemistry stuff than I feel comfortable eating. So in short, there are different chiralities for glucose, left and right. And the one we're talking about is the one on the right, dextrose. That's close enough. Dextrose is also sold commercially as corn sugar.
Is totes sincere or flirty?
I've been putting totes with flirty. It feels like a very light attitude.
Our categories may not be comprehensive.
I don't think they are.
And our judgments may not be consistent.
Lol and bay. Flirty.
Peace.
So, the other two common monosaccharides, I'm not clear on whether there are more, but these are the ones we'll focus on, are fructose and galactose. Galactose, when it bonds with glucose, they come together to make lactose. Neither galactose on its own or lactose are particularly fermentable by most yeasts. But that's milk sugar. That's where that comes from. Or that's what that's made out of, really. Fructose, the fruit sugar, which is found in most plant life, typically will bond with glucose to make sucrose. And sucrose is sugar. These are all sugar, but when people refer to sugar, they're usually talking about table sugar, and that's sucrose. It's those two parts together, glucose and fructose, put together. And sucrose is sweeter than glucose is on its own. Sugar is sweet, sweeter than dextrose. But when you break them apart, it actually becomes even sweeter because fructose is significantly sweeter than it is when it is sucrose. That's why we might want to break those disaccharides apart, because you might want more of that sweetness from the fructose, and makes it easier for the yeast to eat. All right, so yeast can eat a lot of those simple sugars: dextrose, fructose, sucrose. No problem. Maltose, that's another kind of important one. So if you take glucose and it bonds with another glucose molecule together, they make maltose. And maltose is a pretty good diet for yeast. It's in beer. Yeast has kind of evolved to eat it, so that's it's working out pretty well. Glucose can keep bonding, like these chains can keep getting bigger and bigger. 3 glucose molecules bonded together. When you do that, you get maltotriose, which is also in grain. And some grain has more maltose and more maltotriose. Some yeast likes maltose, doesn't like maltotriose as much. Some are cool with it. But they keep getting bigger. Once you get like 4 glucose molecules, anywhere between 4 and several thousands, that's when we're talking about dextrins, also known as starch. Starch chains. So those big old starch chains, yeast cannot eat that. They are too complex for yeast to break them apart and fit them in their mouths.
But are starch chains made up of sugar?
Starch chains are made up of sugar.
Oh.
Fundamentally, starch is just a lot of simple sugar all jammed together into one long chain. And starch is found in plant, like across the board. Yes, grain, of course, but also potatoes. Also, like, just trees themselves. There are some starches that are too complex for enzymes we know of to break down. We can't ferment bark.
I always
Now.
assumed those enzymes were doing some sort of alchemy, but they're just really taking something there and breaking it into smaller pieces until those pieces are sugar.
Yes, and some yeast does produce its own enzymes. Enzymes are things that catalyze a reaction, I guess is. The enzymes that are on some fruits, some grains, will help break down those sugars into a form that yeast can eat. But there are also bacteria that create their own enzymes, like the ones they put on rice to make sake. That's a mold that grows across the rice and releases those enzymes, breaks down starches, and then eats them. It does it all.
Okay.
It's evolved to be capable of eating starch. So it's worth noting, yeast does need more than just sugar in its environment. Just breaking down starch into sugar doesn't keep yeast nourished and happy. They also need nutrients. And a lot of grains and juices already have nutrients. As does, to some limited extent, honey. But a pure sugar diet, no matter what the sugar is, it's not a very healthy diet for yeast. Just like it's not very healthy for people. We need sugar for energy too, and that's what yeast needs it for. Energy, so it can produce that alcohol. But we got to eat a lot of other stuff for nutrition, and you got to give your yeast some of that stuff too, because this is not going to have any nutrition in of itself. You need to add generally a nutrient blend, like a Fermax or Fermade, proper nutrients, proper seltzer. That's a pretty good one. Some people will also add like a more natural nutrient source, like raisins. My understanding is that that's not actually a great addition. Like it adds a little bit more sugar and some nutrients, but it's, just buy Fermax. Anyway, I'm hoping that the sentiment of some of these hearts will help keep our yeast, like, happy as well as nourished. Love you. Like, that's nice. That's... I don't know what that says. So, just a review. You've got glucose, fructose, and galactose. And most sugars are made out of combinations of those three. Put glucose and fructose together, you get sucrose. You get glucose and galactose together, you make lactose sugar, neither of which are fermentable. And you get glucose and more glucose, you make maltose. Questions?
Yeah, yes. What is that? That's just a sincere statement?
I think yes. Yeah, I guess that's just an exclamation.
Alright.
Text me. That's flirty, but it does trouble me a little bit.
And this one I think
Cutie.
says goal. Or
Goal?
goals.
I think it does say goals. I thought at first when you said it, maybe it might be another goat. But no, I think that's goals.
Like life goals.
Relationship goals.
And-
when you see someone cute.
I'm going to put sincere for that.
Yeah, I guess sincere. It's kind of an internet thing to say, but it's still sincere. I'm not getting as many sincere or what is this? DM me. DM me.
Yeah.
I thought it said me.
I got a rock star here, which I feel like is a great segue to mention that Mom Rock's new single, Bullseye, just came out today.
Yes, absolutely.
While recording. Who knows when this will be released.
Yeah, but
Check it out on Spotify.
whenever it's released, if it's Valentine's Day, go online because their new video is also going to be out. I'm sure it's awesome. The single is absolutely awesome.
Text me.
Good shit. Be mine. There's a toxic heart. So, conversation hearts. As I already mentioned, these are pretty much just made of sugar. So we're turning them into Sugarwine, or as some of you may know by its Finnish name, Kilju. I don't know that these will have all the sugar we need, even though they're pure sugar. We might add a little bit of extra to make sure we have a strong enough must. But for the most part, this recipe is just conversation hearts and water and yeast, which is going to be D47 yeast. So I'll tell you a little bit about conversation hearts. So conversation candies, not hearts originally, were invented in 1866 by the Chase and Company Corporation, the predecessor to the New England Confectionery Company, or Necco, which is like Necco wafers.
Necco wafers,
Necco
the
wafers.
nastiest candy
The worst candy.
we've all had. I don't know how it proliferated for so long. Well, now I feel like a jerk because they went out of business a few years ago.
Yeah,
Should've
that is
talked
harsh. Also a jerk
of them.
because present company is included. You see, conversation hearts are Necco wafers. It's the exact same material, pounded into a slightly smaller shape, with stuff printed on it.
I'm not sure I buy that. I remember Necco wafers being pretty nasty, and I am digging these.
Well, these are made by Brock's, so you might just hate Necco. Hopefully not. One way or the
local.
other, I'm just gonna say I'm not gonna do too deep of a dive on Necco because they're fascinating, and I think they should be a whole nother episode. So we're just gonna talk about them as much as we need to. Mostly, we're gonna talk about Chase and Company, their predecessor. So I'll start with the ingredients in these conversation hearts. First, white sugar, sucrose, is pulverized into a fine powder. Then they take that powdered sugar and they blend it with first corn syrup, which is generally a liquid solution of fructose sugar, and then dextrose, which we know is also called glucose. Then they add gelatin and tragacanth gum to get it to the right consistency. Yeah. And then colors and flavors, of course. Strawberry, blueberry, blackberry, and berry punch. They also have citric acid and glycerin, which is a sweetener sometimes used in the food industry. I gotta eat one every now and then. I hold one for a little while and then it's like... They start to look appetizing. They're definitely sugary chalk, but they do get appetite. I kind of like the blueberry ones, I think. Zozo. So, let's get into the history a little bit. In the mid-19th century, sugar is suddenly more cheap and available than ever before. And let's not focus too long on why. It just seems like suddenly sugar production is really high. Anyway, as a result, candy is starting to become economically viable. Apothecary lozenges, like cough drops, were getting pretty big at the time. So, the sugar kind of helps that bitter medicine go down, and people kind of get used to that experience. And some of the medicines, even with the bitterness, they kind of taste sort of good.
Is this happening around the same time as soda jerks and pharmacies and all that stuff?
A little bit. Well, this is a little bit earlier, but this wave is like the like precursor to the soda jerk wave that happens a little bit later, in the like the dawn of the 20th century. But like it's the same vibes. Apothecaries start by making tonics and medicines, and end up making really tasty shit. I don't know why they don't still make delicious. I guess you can buy candy at CVS. But anyway, so these candies are starting to become kind of popular. Things like cinnamon, hard candies, or peppermints are starting to catch on a little bit. And a pharmacist in Boston that's immigrated from England named Oliver Chase He's been selling these sweetened medical lozenges, and he's starting to move into the non-medical lozenge market because more demand.
Now, Oliver Chase was also that Dickens kid, right?
Yes. I do believe Oliver Twist, but there might
Oliver Twist.
there
yes.
might have been a Chase at some point in the story.
Let's continue.
So, the process for making these candies involves blending sugar and gum dough into a rope of sugar paste, and then cutting them into lozenge shapes. It's a lot of slow work, which is fine for selling a moderate amount of medicine, but really not viable for selling large amounts of candy. So, to make the process easier, Chase invents a hand crank lozenge cutter machine, sort of like a pasta maker, to streamline and speed up the process. This is the first industrial candy machine developed in America, capable of making dozens of lozenges at once, all the same size and shape. So, in 1847, Oliver takes this machine and he teams up with his brother Silas to start a candy company called Chase and Company. Sell these Chase's lozenges. They use the lozenge cutter to stamp out these sugar-based candies, and they do pretty well. The Chase and Company gains a lot of steam despite a lot of other candy companies kind of starting up in the same area. Everybody's getting the same ideas and starting to put them into action. Let's jump forward
Yes.
a couple decades to the 1860s. Still Victorian era. The family candy company's been doing pretty good. Got multiple branches now. Got one in Chicago, where Oliver's other brother, not Silas, a lot of brothers here, but Daniel Chase, has been experimenting with a new line of conversation candies. So, he starts making these candies called cockles first, which may have been based off of an English candy already existing. I couldn't find information on that for sure. But these, they're shaped like cockle shells. Basically, same texture as these things, but significantly bigger. And they had little paper fortunes stuffed inside, like a fortune cookie would. Like little slips of colored paper with phrases. So significantly longer sentiments than conversation hearts have nowadays. For example, and these are examples I found on Wikipedia. Married in white, you have chosen right. Or married in pink, he'll have to drink. Or no, he'll take to drink. It's still kind of a pretty bad sentiment, I think.
Yeah.
Married in satin, love will not be lastin'. I like that because that's a little folksy. It still judgy, but folksy.
Very judgy. All of these are putting the entire relationship on the woman.
Yeah. Welcome
I
to
guess
the Victorian era.
Maybe these colors mean something about purity and
They do mean.
I don't know what pink and red and purple
That
mean
is
for wedding dresses.
Absolutely what he's driving at. I'm pretty sure. And sometimes they'd have like a two-part message or like a joke with sort of like a setup and a punchline. So like we got this one message. This isn't really a joke. I guess this is like something you might give to someone. But how long shall I have to wait? Please be considerate. And I guess maybe if you said that in a certain way, you could rhyme wait and considerate. But it just sounds like a really needy sentiment to express. Definitely no joke there. But there is a joke in this one. This super classy pun here. And it actually is it's a question and answer joke. So I can just ask, why is a stylish girl like you a thrifty housekeeper?
I don't think I should answer. Even if I knew the answer, I feel like I get canceled.
Probably not. I mean, it's not your joke. Unless you made up your own joke and it would get you.
That's even worse. If I
Yeah,
come
it
up
would
with
be
my
worse.
own punchline,
And they're classier than yours?
this is a trap. I'm not falling for it. What's their punchline?
I mean, you could have just gone wholesome. Because she makes a big bustle about a little waist.
Yeah, I think I'm probably better for having not said that.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a play on words. Because, like, not wasting too much.
Oh.
Bustle is, like, a lot of hassle. But then, like, the other meaning is a bustle was, like, something that lady... You know how dresses used to be poofy?
Yeah.
They were wearing a thing underneath, and the thing that made it kind of floof out on the butt, that's a bustle. That's a bustle, y'all. So a big bustle about a little waist is also like kind of a... It's sexual, but it's not like... It's not as lewd as maybe you were thinking.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's definitely...
I thought maybe they were... Yeah.
Anyway, I couldn't find very many of these cockle messages. So if you're some kind of Victorian scholar, please hit me up. I would love to hear all the fascinating opinions and jokes about romance that a dude in 1860 thought would be a good fit for selling candy. Anyway, Daniel, after a few years of selling these candies, with the notes in them, he invents a machine to print messages, or mottos, directly onto the candies with a beetroot-based vegetable dye and a felt roller pad. These candies were still bigger than modern conversation hearts, coming in sizes and shapes ranging from a simple circular wafer to stars and watches and horseshoes. So yeah, bigger candies for sure. Which, honestly, after eating a few of these, I really question, because these aren't that bad, but like, can you imagine like a big one, like eating a lot of this, like it was like a chocolate bar, like a Snickers size mass of this shit?
No, I don't think I'd like that.
Yeah, me neither. Honestly, bite size is the only way this is like borderline tolerable.
Yeah, I could deal with the nibble, but I think I'd get sick trying to eat that whole thing.
And you can deal with a lot of nibbles, but anyway, that's why the small version of these is what survived out. So by 1890, there was a whole line of different motto lozenges, including these following, and hopefully you can see them yourself right now. Social conversations, Paragon conversations, Paragon hearts, Cupid hearts, Little sweethearts, also conundrums, little gems, tattlers, and star and arrow hearts. I couldn't really find any information about these individual candy brands, especially tattlers. I feel like I really wish I knew what these candies were tattling about. Probably ladies' ankles. Anyway, most interesting on this list is Little Sweethearts, which is, I mean, it sounds pretty clearly like it's the predecessor for Sweethearts, right?
Yeah,
They're
the
little.
first conversation heart was Necco's Sweethearts.
Mm-hmm. And we're coming right up on those, because just about 12 years later, and, first 11 years later, in 1901, Chase & Company, who we've been following up to this point, merges with a couple other candy companies to form the New England Confectionery Company. And then a year later, they released Sweethearts in pretty much their modern form. Presumably, Little Sweethearts must have been Sweethearts. Necco continues to use the Sweethearts brand with pretty much no changes whatsoever until their eventual closure in 2018. Kind of a bummer. Then Spangler Candy Company took over the Sweethearts brand, and I think they're making it again with the original recipe. I think they changed the recipe, and then they changed it back, and now they're making it with the... I don't know. Sweethearts were not as cheap as these very berry ones were, so... Right,
I've got some hearts I feel like I need to justify my decision on.
Okay, let's roundtable it. What are these hearts?
BFF, I don't know why I put that one aside. That just seems like a sincere expression of friendship. I got a Kiss Me.
Piece.
That's
I picked up two pieces at the same time.
That's sincere.
Very sincere.
Goals, I don't know. It's good to have life goals.
I think goals is sincere.
Gal Pal, again, a sincere friendship between two women.
Absolutely. Gotta more of that.
Smiles are good. Dreams are good to have.
Dreams are good. So we're actually finding a fair amount of aspirational hearts. How do you feel about Let's Hang? Like that sounds like
something you'd say to a friend. That's a sincere platonic friendship. Now, some of these have some pretty subtle distinctions. Love. Just a sincere emotion one has. Love you. Very sweet, very flirty. Real love?
Real love.
You're gatekeeping love now. That sounds toxic as shit.
Yeah. I don't like...
Only you? I don't know. It sounds bad.
Any one of these hearts that sounds like they're taking this that seriously. It's just... Wow, what is... That's so many A's in that yas.
Yas.
But also, I swear I thought it said yar. And I'm like, I need a fourth jar for whatever this vibe is.
Jar.
The pirate jar.
Be mine? I don't know. Fuck you. You and me. That sounds like you're trying to isolate someone from their friends and family.
Yeah.
You and me against the world. I'm the only one you can depend on.
You don't need anyone else, baby.
Toxic ass shit.
Goat. Nice.
Now, here I have a BORT.
Talk to you later. That's casual. A BORT?
A BORT? Sort? BORT?
A BORT?
We'll get a close-up of this on the screen, but I don't know how else that could be read. The O, R, and T I am confident about.
Yeah, and
and sort doesn't make sense.
It doesn't look like an S, it looks like a B.
And
folks,
BORT is a very common name.
BORT is a pretty common name. It does really look like a B.
You know what? BORT sounds like, I don't know, like your best friend since elementary school, you know?
Stick it out with BORT.
BORT,
he's a BFF.
You're a BFF. You're a sincere motherfucker.
Alright. BORT.
And I think if the sincere batch does well, it's going to be because of BORT.
Yeah. You know what?
I'd hang with BORT.
I'm trusting BORT to carry this brew through.
Zozo.
Laugh. That's just sincere. That's just nice.
Another laugh.
Call me. It's not necessarily... I mean, that's probably just flirty. I shouldn't be so judgy of people asking other people to contact them. Sweet. So, alright. This is, kind of a digression, but, this is for Valentine's Day. So, I'm gonna bring it up. So, some accounts, by some historians, seem to think it's possible that Daniel Chase's conversation candies and cockles and all of those might have been partially inspired by another relatively recent invention that they would have been aware of. Valentine's Day cards.
Oh.
Which is to say, store-bought Valentine's Day cards. Exchanging cute cards on Valentine's Day had pretty much just started being a popular thing in America in the 1840s. But at the time, most of those Valentine's Day cards were still handmade, you know? You could purchase Valentine's Day cards in England. That had kind of caught on already, and sort of gaudy, kind of elaborate, kind of expensive. You had to get them imported.
Well, they still are.
Well,
expensive.
Are they though? Greeting cards?
Yeah.
I mean, relative to what they are, but how much does a greeting card cost nowadays?
$5, $10. I don't know.
I actually don't know either. So I will say 5 doesn't seem that extreme.
I'd say 5, and if you
10.
want one with like the glittery stuff, maybe 10. If you want one that's like 3D pop-out stuff, you might be looking at $20.
Well, what if you wanted like a handmade artisanal Valentine's Day card?
I'd say $50. I mean, artisanal. That sounds handmade to me. That sounds like a custom order.
So
you got to pay artists.
You do. So not really a very viable business, artisanal handmade Valentine's Day cards, unless you already happen to own a stationery business. Enter Esther Howland, a wealthy woman whose father owned a stationery business. So she was a resident of Worcester, Mass. actually.
Hey,
Yeah.
it's not too far from us.
Right on Worcester. And a business associate of her father's bought her one of these cards. And she's impressed with it. And nothing of its caliber exists on the market, but she's confident she could do it better, cheaper. She's got the stationery, she's got the plan. She hires a bunch of women, and each of them get deliveries to their home. Boxes of stationery, frilly lace and flowers and all that. And the women assemble the Valentine's Day cards, and then the boxes are picked up with the finished cards. Esther Howland brought the first American Valentine's Day cards to market in 1848. They're a huge hit. This is just a year after Chase and Company Corporation opens. So a few takeaways here. Howland was a contemporary to the Chase family, and they lived in the same region, pretty much, Boston and Worcester. Not a huge leap from pre-made Valentine's Day cards to, a couple decades later, candies with romantic messages tucked inside of them. The other takeaway is that work from home has been viable for way longer than they're letting us in on, and it's about time. It's about time we come full circle and return to small batch, artisanal Valentine's Day with a remote working business model.
Fuck ever leaving my home again.
Fuck ever leaving your home again. Thank you, Esther Howland.
We'll have to bleep that.
All right. So, getting to the actual brewing. We've got our water heated up now. So now I'm going to transfer about half a gallon into this pot. And we're going to dissolve those hearts that we spent all that time sorting. We have ended up with about 2 pounds of sincere hearts, 1.5 pounds of flirty hearts, and 1 pound and a third of toxic hearts, which is kind of reassuring, actually. You know, that's sort of a good balance to strike, even if a lot of the sincere hearts were just kind of because we didn't know where else to put them. They were sincerely unorganizable. So, in theory, we should have enough sugar to ferment these in a 1 gallon batch by itself. We're aiming for about an OG of 1.086. Although really, I'm happy with whatever. But if the gravity is significantly lower than expected, we got plenty of sugar to add. So, pull on close. We're going to get a shot dissolving the sugar. Alright.
Into which container?
This one.
Good.
Here are sincere hearts. Breaking down. All the sentiment is washing off of the hearts and extracting into the liquid. So hopefully it will flavor this sugar wine with human emotion. We got to get these hearts completely dissolved. We need all of those sugars to be released into water for us to get an accurate gravity reading. In the meantime, I set up the next steps in the background, cleaning our 3 1-gallon fermenters and setting up our immersion chiller, which we'll need to get all this stuff back down to fermentation temp relatively quickly. Alright, so at this point the hearts have almost completely dissolved. Just a few stragglers left. And we're going to take this sincere heart solution and we're going to put it in our hydrometer to see how much sugar we got. Let's do it here. You will have to adjust for temperature. Let's at least make sure this guy's floating. And he's floating. Oh boy. Okay, so there's a lot of sugar in here. Look like 1.05, 1.15 something. maybe a hair above like 1.151. So I'll have to add a little bit more water to that. But we'll water that down just a little bit and add it to one of these gallon fermenters. Then we'll get on to dissolving the others. Alright, so we've got the melted conversation hearts in this pot. I'm chilling them down a little bit. Not quite sure what the volume is. I think I'm still at around a half gallon, but I'm going to add it to my jug and we'll see how much more I need to top it off. And then we'll just kind of see what gravity we hit. Alright, time to add the Sincere Conversation Heart Must, which is just so fucking bright. See how much we have to see how much water I need to add.
And that's essence of BORT in there.
Yeah, Essence of BORT made it into this must.
BORT's best.
BORT guide us. Woo! That is beautiful. Gonna add like another quart to BORT, and then we'll cap it up. At this point, it's a good idea to aerate the wort. Try to get as much oxygen to dissolve into the liquid as possible. The best way to do that is to leave just a little headspace, cap it up, and shake the hell out of it. Yeast needs oxygen for a healthy fermentation, and we want to set this yeast up with everything it needs. We're also dissolving a tablespoon of Fermex and a dash of yeast energizer into each gallon carboy. I checked the gravity again, and now that we blended in some water, it's sitting at 1087. Pretty much exactly where I wanted it. If it ferments dry enough, that could take us to as strong as 12%. We'll have to wait till after it ferments and check the gravity again to find out. Now we need another half gallon or so of water. And now we're going to melt down the flirty hearts. Again, we melt these flirty hearts down, but this time we're also adding 8 ounces of granulated white sugar, sucrose, and a dash of lime. We don't need a lot of sugar here, but it'll help since BORT got a higher percentage of the hearts. This next batch is going to need about twice as much, and we'll give it a longer simmer to make sure it's all properly inverted. When we're done, we end up at 1.085, which is good enough for me. So, we just have the toxic hearts left. We've heated up the last gallon of water. I'm going to stir in those toxic hearts. In addition, we're going to need a lot more sugar since there were less toxic hearts than there were of the flirty hearts and sincere hearts. It's a good thing. We're going to add sucrose, a disaccharide made out of glucose and fructose, remember? Now, using the heat of this boil and a little bit of the lime juice, just like I added to the flirty hearts, we are going to catalyze a reaction that will break down those disaccharides into the glucose and fructose they're made out of, which will ferment a little bit better, ideally. Now, these will take some more time to melt again, so we'll stir these up. Once all the toxic hearts and sugar are melted and stirred up, the liquid eventually goes translucent. That's a sign that you fully dissolved all the sugars into the solution. We hold it at that temp for a little longer to ensure that all the sucrose we've added has broken down, and then check the gravity, 1087. I strain that back into the jug and add the last of my bottle of Fermex and a hearty dash of yeast energizer. So, at this point we have all 3 1-gallon carboys all ready to go. We've got our toxic hearts, our flirty hearts, and our sincere hearts. And though they're all about the same gravity, you can see a marked difference in color. And that's because this got the most hearts, and this got the least hearts. This made up for it in sugar, but we'll see what that changes about the wine.
It got less of that red food coloring.
Exactly, it got less of that red food coloring and all those fake berry flavors. So we'll just kind of see how that affects it. For all we know, the toxic hearts will end up being the best of them. But I guess if the hearts were a good ingredient, then this is going to be the best. The sincere hearts. And that's the vibe you should be putting out into the world. Sincere hearts.
Yeah.
We also have some wine. Tasty food. We're gonna pitch some yeast on these guys. But, we're using D47 wine yeast, which is, kind of has a fruity character to it. If you want, you can use EC1118 or champagne yeast. I don't think it makes a big difference. It's all good. This wine here is actually brewed by my favorite vintner. All the way home from my home state of Virginia. My father. And this is a chocolate raspberry dessert wine. Should be perfect. We also have some chocolate mousse.
Yes.
Which we got that in Timber. Who made? Was that Hope's?
I think it was Hope. If it's
Okay.
not, I'm sorry.
Yes. I'm pretty
But
sure.
I'm pretty
it
sure
was
it
Hope.
was.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Hope. All right. Delicious.
I don't know if we can drink this on YouTube.
Demonetized. Delicious. So, yeah.
that's
Yeast is
good.
pitched. Everything's
so
ready
sweet.
to go. If you don't have anyone in your life, be sure to go out and buy yourself some Valentine's Day candy. Self-care is so very important. And, thanks for spending this last hour with us. Happy anniversary, babe.
Happy anniversary.
Oh! BORT is GOAT.
BORT goat. I can see it.
It's
A
GOAT.
little slanted. Yep.
Greatest of all time.
da 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 da